Once upon a time, in the small village of Azumta, there lived a widow fondly called Mama Arinze. Mama Arinze's husband had died when she was pregnant with their twins, Ginika Chuku and Arinze Chuku, leaving her to take care of the both of them. Due to her husband's demise, Mama Arinze had to start selling fresh fish at the market so as to be able to take care of Ginika and Arinze when they were born. A fresh fish business brought in profits, and the proceeds were enough to take care of her and her twins. Mama Arinze, being an adorable woman, loved her twins so much, and because of that, she refused to remarry after they were born. Now, a few kilometers from Azumta village was another neighboring village called Udom. The village of Udom was a bigger village, and they held their general market day every month, precisely on every third Thursdays of the month. On this general market day, market men and women from within and outside of Udom village come together to sell their wares and foodstuffs to villagers from within and outside of Udom. In a bid to make more profits as well, Mama Arinze too goes to Udom market on their market days to sell her fish. One Thursday evening, Mama Arinze was on her way back to Azumta village after selling her fish at Udom General Market. She was in Azumta's plantain plantation, happy about the day's sales, when suddenly she began to hear the sound of a baby crying. She paused and looked around, wondering where the house with the crying baby was in the plantation, but she saw no house. Mama Arinze was still trying to figure out if she heard the sound of a baby or not when the baby's cry became more intense. Mama Arinze this time knew it was a baby crying, so she began looking around trying to trace where the baby was. After 100 or more frantic steps around the plantation, she saw a beautiful baby girl wrapped in a wrapper under one of the plantain trees. She looked around to see if she could see the mother of the child, but she saw no one. She sat and waited for a few hours in hopes that the mother of the baby would come back, but no one showed up. It was getting really late, and she was scared of leaving the baby there, so she picked her up and wrote her name, Mama Arinze, on the sand where the baby was laid. She then tied her headgear under the same plantain tree and went home. She did this should the baby's mother come by later, she would be able to find her and collect her baby from her. But no one came in search of Abubu, who Mama Arinze named after 2 months of waiting. Abubu, day by day, grew up with Ginika and Arinze, and Mama Arinze did not for once treat her like her adopted child. If Arinze and Ginika ate rice, Abubu too would eat rice. If she bought new clothes for her twins, she would buy the same for Abubu. Whatever her children ate and did was what Abubu too ate and did. Because the village of Azumta was a unity-oriented and small village, everyone in the village knew that Abubu was not Mama Arinze's biological child or relative, and because of this, often showed Mama Arinze favor for raising a child that was not her own, even though she was a widow. As Ginika and Abubu grew up together, they became inseparable and really bonded as sisters. "I will wait for Ginika, Mama, so that we can go together," was what Mama Arinze always heard whenever she told Abubu to run an errand for her. Abubu and Ginika were that close. Ginika would cover up for Abubu, and Abubu would do the same for Ginika, and would oftentimes confuse Mama Arinze on who to punish when one of them did something bad. This bond between the two of them made Mama Arinze really happy, as she had feared Abubu would at a point feel like a stranger in their midst, since they were not a biological family. Slowly and gradually, the years passed, and Ginika, Abubu, and Arinze grew into 3 loving and adorable adults. That year, in the village of Azumta, the king who ruled at that time married 2 wives, and they both bore him 8 children in total. The first son of the first wife, named Achebe, was of age and ready to marry. This made the king send out an invitation, using the town crier, to all the young maidens of the village for them to come to the Feast of Virgins, so the prince would pick a bride amongst them. All the young ladies who were virgins in the village were happy about this, and they all started getting ready for that big day. Some stopped going outside so their skin won't get bad, while some others stopped eating too much food so as to maintain their stature. The day of the feast finally came a few weeks later. All the young maidens in the village were present. Achebe the prince looked with keen interest as each lady, including Abubu, came to the center of the gathering, looking beautiful in their best attire. When it was Ginika's turn to come to the center of the crowd, the prince could not take his eyes off her when she got there. He was so fascinated by how gentle and beautiful she was, and how her smile was radiant, that he instantly decided she was going to be his bride. The days and weeks following the feast saw the villagers trooping into the household of Ginika to congratulate them. Amidst the joy and happy moments, preparation started 3 months after for the bridal rites of Ginika, and the entire village got busy getting ready for the royal wedding. Abubu, on her part, went all out for Ginika for her wedding. She made sure Ginika stopped doing any hard work, like going to the stream to fetch water or to the market to buy foodstuffs. The night preceding the wedding day, Abubu and Ginika cried in each other's arms. "Who will I be talking to now, Ginika? I am so going to miss you. I will really miss you," Abubu in tears told Ginika. With sadness and tears in their eyes, they both slept in each other's arms that night. The next day, it was Ginika's wedding day. Everybody celebrated, ate and drank to their fullest, and the day ended with joy and laughter. After the wedding, Ginika moved to the palace, so things changed between her and Abubu. Why things changed was because Ginika now had to attend to palace duties, as well as see to the affairs of the palace and that of her husband. Because of this change, she and Abubu both agreed to make their sister bond stay strong by seeing each other 3 times in a month. Months by month, they maintained this agreement, till Ginika got pregnant and had her first child. In the land of Azumta, the custom states that a royal baby should only be brought outside after 8 weeks. This means that Ginika would see no one, not even a mother, for the next 8 weeks. These 8 weeks passed slowly for Abubu, as the palace had become a second home. So she counted each day and waited earnestly for it to end. On the day the 8 weeks ended, Abubu was the first person to get to the palace. On her second day at the palace, she saw the love and affection being showered on Ginika and her baby by the prince and the entire palace as a whole. Dear sister, you are so lucky. Please, continue to be a good wife to the prince, else I will fight with you if I hear you are not a good wife, Abubu sternly warned Ginika. A year later, sadly, disaster struck in the palace. Achebe's father, who was the ruling king, died, so Achebe had to be sworn in as the new king, and Ginika became the queen of Azumta village. This new title did not stop Ginika and Abubu's sister's bond, so Abubu still went to the palace as often as possible, even though Ginika was now so invested in the affairs of the village and that of the people. In the midst of all these happenings, Ginika found out she was pregnant with her second baby, so she had to rest more, as instructed by the village physician. This made her request for Abubu's presence the more around the palace, and this further made the bond between the two of them stronger. 7 months later, the sound of a baby's cry echoed in the palace. Ginika had yet delivered another bouncing baby. Everything was going on well in the palace until one sunny Sunday. Abubu went to the palace as usual to meet up with Ginika. While she was there, the king's servant delivered a message to her that the king wants her to see him before she leaves the palace. Ginika wondered why the king wanted to see her sister when he did not inform her about it, but she let her thoughts slide. When Abubu got into the inner chambers to see the king, he informed her that he would love to marry her and make her his second wife. He told her to get ready, as he was coming for a marital rite in 6 weeks' time. When words got out, because it soon spread like wildfire, the news shook the entire village. This has never happened before in the land of Azumta. The villagers wondered what abomination this is that the king was about to commit. The elders rose up to the king's decision, but the king stood his ground and insisted he was marrying Abubu as his second wife. After all, she and Ginika were not actually sisters, nor were they related by blood. The 6 weeks was a long wait for Ginika and the entire village of Azumta. Ginika, who had become a shadow of herself, after pleading with her husband to rethink his decision, but he had blatantly refused, still wondered and could not understand why the king had decided to hurt her and humiliate her like that by marrying her adopted sister out of the blues. Everyone made speculations about what had come over the king. Some said he was charmed. Others said he was doing this because he wanted to do it, while some others said Ginika might not actually be a good wife to the king, hence his decision to marry Abubu. The 6 weeks rolled by, and the wait was over, for the D-Day finally came. The marital rite commenced, but this time it was different from the usual royal marriage performed for a king and his bride. After the marriage ceremony was over, the king summoned the whole village and made a shocking announcement to the surprise of everyone present. He said the reason why he married Abubu was because he wanted to protect his beloved wife Ginika and his children. Everyone looked confused, so he went ahead and said Abubu had poisoned Ginika in order to make her sick, and would have proceeded to take her place as the queen if her plans were successful. What Abubu's plan was to make Ginika sick for a long time. Then she would be asked to come to the palace often because of Ginika's children. After which, she would have the king sleep with her with the help of the charm the herbalist gave her, then get pregnant. Once she gets pregnant, the king will have no other choice than to make her his wife, according to the traditions of the land. Abubu got to know more about the king's weaknesses because Ginika often spoke to her as a sister about what goes on with her and the king. The reason why Abubu's plan was not successful was because one of the palace guards saw her when she was coming out of an herbalist shrine in another village. This prompted the palace guard to go to the herbalist to find out what Abubu had come to do. And the herbalist, who happened to be this palace guard's father, told him everything. The palace guard then quickly rushed to the palace to inform the king, who swiftly instructed the servant to keep a close eye on Abubu whenever she was in the palace. Unknown to Abubu, on the day she poisoned Ginika's food, 2 of the palace servants saw her from the slight opening of the door to Ginika's room. This wicked act was what made the king decide to marry her, but not in a royal way, so as to protect Ginika and his family. More so, because he knows that Abubu could try something more harmful to Ginika or himself if she was allowed to walk freely, since she knows so much about the 2 of them. Abubu, who was standing before everyone with a beaming smile, suddenly looked lost as the king spilled everything. She felt ashamed and wished she could disappear from the gathering. When she was asked why she did what she did, Abubu could not say anything other than to burst out in tears. The king then continued and made a promise to never lay with Abubu and know her as a woman. She would never step outside of the palace arena and would never be recognized as the royal wife of the king. He then placed a curse on anyone who would go against his decree even after his death, should Abubu still be alive by then. Abubu must remain a prisoner of the palace. When he was done with his words, the villagers were all happy and chanted in agreement with what the king had said and did. Everyone agreed that what Abubu did was wicked and evil, because they all know the story of Abubu now, how she was picked up as a baby, nurtured by Ginika's mother, and loved by the entire people of Azumta village. So for this reason, Abubu remained in the palace till her old age, lonely, humiliated, and sad. Her sister's bond with Ginika was broken, and Ginika avoided her like a plague. Abubu bore no child, and her story became a timeless reminder and lesson to always cherish family, as family is not only those related to us by blood, but those who have proven to be with us through thick and thin, no matter what. It also reminds us to never repay good with evil and know that evil seeds will never bring forth good fruits. Thank you for listening. Another story drops soonest. If you are a lover and fan of folktale stories, then you have come to the right place because that is all we do. Please don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up and turn on all notifications so you don't miss it when a new story is uploaded. Thank you once again.